Captain the Coach, episode number 18. Hello, Travis. Good to have you with us.
Good to be back, James.
Thank you. So, for the benefit of our tribe, our players, the team who we're providing service to, I think it's important that we provide a frame up for this session because, unlike many of our others, which have been a little bit more from the orientation of offering opinions or perspectives or interviewing others and getting their thoughts and comments, today's going to be a little bit more dynamic in the sense of I'm going to play the true role of a coach, and you'll be in the position of my client, if you like, or the participant in the coaching session, so the captain. And as I was framing up to you just a moment ago, the whole purpose of this is, of course, to unveil and identify opportunities for growth within you and your business. But in doing so, also recognizing that we're providing a service for others insofar as there might be things that are relatable, useful, insightful for them. I think before we get into it, Trav, it also bears being said and acknowledged that you choosing to do this in the format that we're doing is incredibly courageous and considerate and generous for others because having a coaching session in a one-to-one environment and doing it in a so-called more public format is again a very high level of service that you can offer and create for other people to so that it can somewhat normalize problems that you might have that they also have, because I know for sure there's many high performers that think that their problems are unique to themselves, but it's almost always not the case. And so I don't know where today's conversation is going to go. I really don't know what we're going to discuss because, as I said to you the other day, let's try not to over-engineer this or prep it. And from my perspective, I haven't got anything prepared whatsoever. So I'm going to hand it over to you and ask, as a starting point, what did you have that you felt you wanted to cover or discuss to make today's session useful and time well spent for you?
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, yeah, thanks for that glowing welcome. Yeah, I've got this affirmation that fail fast, fail publicly. So this is the perfect platform for that, right? Let's get the rubber on the road and have a crack. So to your question around what I would like to discuss in today's coaching session is I seem to be the business we've seen a lot of significant growth over the last couple of years, and we've gone in a couple of different directions, and some things have succeeded and some things have failed. And I guess now I just want to play with, we have the contractor model, we're revisiting the PAYG model. Whether we do one or the other or both, I don't know, and that's what I want to unpack with you. I probably carry a few battle scars that we might discuss further through the coaching call around where we took some missteps in the PAYG model previously. But yeah, that's sort of where what I'm hoping to get out of this session is sort of a bit of a clearer direction on what the next 3 to 5 years of the business is going to look like.
Okay, and that last comment may have answered the question I'm just about to ask you, which is what would you like to see your experience by the end of this session to think that it's time well spent for you
What would I like to see?
or experience? Yep. So maybe the answer is partly to do with that clarity around the options, but it might be something else as well.
Yeah, I guess I want to get clear. Like I think I'm clear on my why, but I'm not clear on my how at the moment. I seem to it seems to be a question that I'm constantly asking people, and I'm not getting an answer. Well, not that they can't answer it, right? Because I've got to answer this question for myself. So this will help me formulate what my strategy is going to be moving forward, so I can actually just go ahead and execute. Because I feel like I've sort of got one foot in both camps at the moment.
Okay, great. So this is a good answer. It wasn't necessarily an answer to my question though.
Mhm.
By the end of the session, what would you like to experience or know or see for you to think this is time well spent?
Um, I'll be honest, I don't even know how to answer that question if I'm being completely fair. I guess I just want to get clear. I just want, like, I feel like I've got some analysis paralysis. I want to get some more clarity around what the next steps are for me moving forward.
Okay,
Does that answer it? I feel like I'm struggling with this.
sure. Well, we can check in as we go through to see if what we're doing is aligning to where you want to go. So you said that you've attempted some of these things in the past. You said as well that you're clear on your why, not your how. So when you talk about your why, just could you help bring me up to speed? What is your why?
Okay, so when we talk about why, like obviously I've got it inbuilt within me. I wanted to build a big business. I don't think I was ever going to be this one man band. I always wanted to build something big. I wanted to create a little bit of legacy. I want to have a little bit impact on the industry, which is what this is about. So that's essentially my why. And I feel like, as I said, the business is growing, but we're sort of in a this place where do we go in one direction or do we go in the other, or can we sort of diversify and do both?
Okay. And when you say something big, could you just elaborate on what big looks like or feels like for you? Yeah, just try and answer that and then I'll ask you another question.
What big looks like for me, we're currently 15 staff. I would like to think if it depends on whether I was to progress this business, progress Vertus alone, or whether we were to take on mergers, acquisitions, whatever the case may be. But on my own, I would say probably twice that, probably 30 to 40 staff.
Okay.
But as we get bigger, who knows?
Okay. And when you think about the word legacy, what comes to mind? As in, what is it a legacy for family? Is it a legacy of your personal reputation? Is it a legacy of the business brand? Is it something else? What does a legacy look like or mean for you?
So Legacy is a brand. I would love nothing more than for my great grandkids to be getting a home loan through Vertus, and them speaking to a broker and them going, "Oh, Vertus, this is Vertus's value proposition." They go, "Yeah, I'm well aware. My great grandfather founded this business." So that to me would be legacy. I'd like to. This industry has been very good to me and my family. I'd like to give back to the industry. So whether that's through what we're doing here, whether it's through some of the tech plays we're looking at. But what I'd like to think is when my time is done with the finance industry, that I've left it in a better place. I've had a positive influence on driving the industry as a whole forward. Um, yeah, and look, I'm in two minds about generational wealth for my kids, whether they're gonna. So yeah, like it's just about providing a great lifestyle for my family now.
So it's a combination of the two. Is doing something for the betterment of the business as a player within the industry, and also from a personal perspective, is how does this have a dividend and a flow and impact in terms of the Carruthers family, of current kids and potentially future generations.
Yeah, I have this constant battle where like I'd love to go, like I've got some concepts for some tech I'd love to build in different things, but it's not necessarily going to put food on the table, right? But then I could tone right back and I could just be on the tools and just writing more deals and not worrying about growing the business, which is a really profitable model. But is that going to be fulfilling for me? I personally within myself, I don't think it's going to be. It's one of these things that I can just keep writing volume and volume and volume. And I'm going to get to a point where the profitability is so strong, but I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. Hence why I'm diversifying the business in different areas. It's probably more about something inside me as opposed to increasing the profitability in the business.
Okay. And that something inside you is about the bigger brand and I mean, or growing something more expansive than where you're currently at.
Definitely.
Who do you compare yourself to, if anyone, as relates to the progress you're making? Or is this an internal thing where you're only calibrating your progress compared to the vision that you had of where you thought you'd be?
That's a really tough question. We do a lot of benchmarking. There's a small group that I work within. We call it the Broker Plus group. It's a couple of few brokers. Nathan Smith's in that group. There's Josh DeBell, 𝐀𝐻𝐨𝐿, a lot of well-established, very successful brokers. So if you talk about benchmarking, I'm probably benchmarking myself against them, and I would probably consider all of those businesses in that group to be bigger and more successful businesses than mine. So there, yeah, when you talk about comparisons, that's probably where I'm drawing my comparisons from, and that's probably why I'm shooting as high as what I am, because I'm they've essentially paved the way, and I'm essentially doing everything I possibly can to, in some respects. And there's different things. Like Nathan's really strong on culture. Josh DeBell has a really strong work-life balance. That every business has got different key takeaways, and I'm not trying to just replicate and benchmark off one particular business. I'm trying to take different things from different businesses in my little colleague group and build something unique to me.
Okay. And when you think about the progress you're attempting to make, and whilst you're calibrating against external companies, How do you measure and define success? Meaning, is it something that you do when you have met or beat where they're at, or is it internal metrics or milestones, or milestones in your head only that are determining or defining what it is that you're striving to achieve and be as a brand and as a person?
Yeah, I guess I'm probably not benchmarking against them internally when you look at my own goals. Like there's a couple of things that I'll look at. One is EBIT. So EBIT is vitally important to me, and when we're making this strategic decisions in the business, everything is based around EBIT, and obviously the EBIT will peak and trough depending on whether we're in a growth period and we're investing in the business, or we're at like we're getting an abundance of leads at the moment, so EBIT's really strong and things are going really well. And then there's the work-life balance, which is probably one of the things that I haven't quite nailed. I'm not saying I've got it. I'm not saying I'm terrible. I used to be. I feel like the work-life balance is a progression. It's getting better and better. But I've got I've got this ideal life that I envisage in the next 3 to 5 years, and that is what I'm working towards.
Could you tell me a little bit more about what that vision looks like for the ideal life?
Okay, I know this is, in all honesty, we're just trying to be honest here. I probably won't share what my goal is in relation to EBIT, but it's pretty high.
Sure.
But my goal is a significantly higher EBIT with working
Is
probably
that dollar wise or percentage wise or both?
dollar,
Okay.
dollar. And it's a pretty outlandish goal uh, that relates to EBIT, and then probably 20 to 30 hours a week work, like a 20 to 30 hour work week, working when I decide. So not being not living on the phone, not taking meetings. Like literally, I can run the business. I can, if I decide that I want to jam 30 hours into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's what I'll do. If I want to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's what I want to do. That's what I'll do. Right at the moment, I'm probably working 80 hours a week, so I'm a long, long way from there.
Okay. So one thing that's going to be hard for this coaching session is to determine which is the better the business model for you, contractors or salaried, if we don't necessarily know what the goalpost looks like in terms of dollar figures. So I'll do my best in the absence of knowing what that is, or if you don't want to disclose that publicly, to try and help you decide what looks like the more appropriate business model. Uh, where do you feel the inadequacies are within the business at the moment as relates to helping set others up for success?
I think I've probably got some of my own limiting beliefs. We went down the PAYG model a few years ago, and it didn't end well. I think it was just the wrong people in the business. We put on a particular broker, didn't perform that well whilst in the business, stole IP, stole staff, went after referral partners. We copped like $15,000 worth of clawbacks. Like it was a pretty bad experience. And off the back of that, I'm just like, you know what, we're done with PAYG. Like I don't want to get burnt like that ever again. And so we went down the contractor model, and my contractors are performing very, very well. They're really happy. I'm really happy with them. They don't require as much work as what a PAYG broker does. They eat what they kill, but the profitability is a lot lower with them. And they're all self-sourcing their leads, right? So that it's very hard to attract those contracting brokers to the business. It's just it's a hard ask, right? So now we're starting to revisit, do just because I got that PAYG model wrong originally doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't work. I've been inside some businesses in the last couple of weeks where they only hire new to industry brokers on a PAYG model, and they've been really successful. So we're now revisiting that. So it's like, do we continue going down the contractor model, or we just sit and hold with the current contracts that we got, and I start improving my recruitment and building in around this PAYG so I can increase my profitability, or do we try and run both alongside one another?
Let me ask you this. When you think about creating something big, which is one of your earlier comments, and legacy versus profitability, which one seems to give you a little bit more enthusiasm around, I want something that's large and to be known and, maybe revered potentially, something that's a legacy so that it can be handed on to the next generation, or something that is more profitable?
I would say profitability would trump legacy.
And would profitability trump something large as well?
Yes. Let's go with yes for that one.
Why?
Look, it's probably just me internally. As much as I'd love to build this big brand, and like, yeah, I look at some of my colleagues that have done some big tech plays and done some amazing things, and watched the deep and dark places they had to go to come out the other side of those things. I'm probably not prepared to do that. I've got other. I have a really good home life with my family, and I'd love to have my weekends back to spend more time with my kids. If I can reduce my work hours, I'll probably go back to racing cars. There's a whole other lot of challenges and a lot of pieces to my life that if the profitability was there and I could get the freedom, this is where I sort of struggle, where if I can get the profitability really high, am I going to have the freedom? Because I might be EBIT's amazing, but I'm on the tools and I'm working 70 hours a week. Well, it's great to have all the money in the bank if I can't actually go and enjoy it, right?
So, when you think about being able to reduce your hours, and if that cost you something, and therefore your profitability wasn't as high, but you had the flexibility and discretion around how you ran the business or you were involved in the business, is that a consideration or is that not an option?
Definitely an option. That's probably one of my goals, to be honest. I want my EBIT to be at a level where that level, and it's a pretty big, as I said, setting myself a pretty big goal there. Once we reach that level, I don't need to grow it. I could essentially plug someone into the business, whether we put them on an ESOP arrangement that backs into an actual equity position in the business or how it would work. I'd essentially say, this is what my current profitability is in the business. I want you to come in a general manager role or on the tools or whatever the case may be. This is what I want out of the business. And I'm going to still work 20 to 30 hours a week, but you're essentially responsible for driving and growing this business. And that allows me to take a step back, but I'm still in the business. I'm still working with my contractors. I'm working with my 𝗖𝗽𝗁 guys. I'm working really closely with helping build them up because I really enjoy working with these guys and helping them grow their own businesses and helping them if I have the when I have the 𝗖𝗁 guys helping them grow into their roles. But what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to pack up and go to Perth and race cars for 5 days and not pick up my phone, or head to Japan and go snowboarding for 2 weeks and say, guys, you got me for 5 hours on a Wednesday for the 2 weeks, and that's it. I'm out. But at the moment, like, I will joke and probably not nice thing to say, but I'll say if I step out of the office to go for a piss, things can go wrong. Like it's and we got away from that for a few years, and now we're sort of gone back to it because of the volume. My phone's just constantly ringing, and I'm always on the tools. And there's so much key man risk in my business at the moment that the I guess where I'm struggling is how do I navigate out of this key man risk position?
Okay. And one more question as relates to profitability and freedom. Do you have an example of someone that runs an incredibly profitable business and has the freedom that you're aspiring to, or not? Do you know someone that sort of sits in that? Well, because it sounds to me like what you've got is a utopian goal or your highest aspiration that you would like to achieve, but it also sounds like you might be potentially prepared to compromise for a little bit less in the EBIT column if it means a little bit more in the quality of life and freedom column. That's what I think I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we did a little mini conference last year, and good friends with Josh Dubell from Finex over in Perth. I think he's one of AFG's top riders over in Perth. Been in the industry for 19 years, very successful business, very good broker. And this is exactly what he's doing. He's 19 years in the industry, I'm 9. So I've got a long way to go, right? But he's essentially carved out. He goes to Europe for, I think he went to Europe for 4 or 5 weeks this year. He's he works less hours. He's very school pickups and drop offs and doing like he seems to have it. If I was to go off if I was to go after anyone's business and go, look, that's what I want, Josh Dubell's probably the man.
Okay, interesting. Out of curiosity, do you have salary brokers or contractors or a combination of the two?
Salaried brokers.
Hmm.
Oh, I think he might have 1 or 2 contracts. I have to double check that, but yeah, salaried brokers.
Okay.
PAYG model.
And so, are you averse to looking at salaried again, or are you, or is it simply a case of no? These days, I'm just really going to build out the contractor play.
Look, we've just hired. When I say just hired, we've just had an offer accepted this morning for a new PAYG broker, new to industry. So this is one of the things where, because of what happened to me in the past, I like almost had PTSD from. I was like, nah, it's not happening. And it just kept coming back. Trav, you need to revisit this PAYG model. Everyone I speak to, they say you need to revisit it. And it's taken me a couple of years, but now we're sitting here revisiting it. And I think we've recruited well. I'm really happy. I'm really happy with this new recruit we've got. I know new to industry, there's going to be some teething problems and there's a lot more work that's going to go into getting this particular broker up to speed. But I feel far more confident this time around with the betterment of what I've learnt last time and the improvements I've made in my recruitment process.
Okay. In relation to the comparison between last time and this time, sounds to me like part of it was recruitment insofar as a selection of the right candidate, and that you're confident in the quality of the person you've just put an offer to or who's about to start with you. Thinking about what you think they might need to set them up for success in the next few months and beyond. What is it that you can provide to them that might be different to what was done last time in order to achieve a better outcome?
Yeah, I feel like last time I probably tried to cut a few corners. What I tried to do is I tried to take on somebody that wasn't new to industry, that had experience, but had never really seen any real success. So it's like, well, if they'd been a broker for 10 years and never really reached the heights that I needed them to, what means they were going to come in under my model and reach those heights, right? So looking at the new recruit that we're bringing on, one of Australia's best motocross and supercross riders. I've known him for 20 something years now, right? I used to race bikes when he was a kid. Amazing bike rider, great work ethic, extremely talented person. Went out and started his own coaching business in the motocross and supercross. So he coaches all the elite riders across the country, across the world. Are very, very successful in that business. Just so happens that that business is never really going to be that profitable, like to be the best in it. It's so I sort of look at him and go, you know what? If he can be half as good a broker as he is at where he currently is, he will be a top performer in our industry. So that's sort of, and I'm happy to carry that sunk cost. And I've had conversations with different brokers where they say the break even point's like 9 to 12 months. And if that's the case with him, I feel like I'm now in a position where our EBIT is and how healthy the business is that I'm happy to carry that sunk cost because I can see the end goal with him of what we can essentially accomplish. So, am I answering
Yeah,
that right?
yeah, 100%. I understand exactly how that works.
Mm.
So, have you done any forecasting around? Well, actually, before we get to the forecasting, you've talked a little bit about his attitude and his behavior. I'm not sure if I got a clear answer though in terms of what you think you might need to do differently to help provide him the best opportunity to succeed. So it sounds like he's a winner by nature, like it's in his DNA that he finds ways to do things well. But from your perspective, what do you think you need to bring or offer or do differently to help create the opportunity for him to have a successful and fruitful career with you and with the team?
Yeah, so this is probably leads back into that do it PAYG versus contractor model. He's starting with us in a PAYG capacity, right? But I know what he's like. I know how competitive he is with himself. I know how much of a high performer he is. And at some point, he's going to ask that question. Like, why would I say PAYG when I could become a contractor? So we've got that pathway for him, and we've had a discussion with him around how we can create this pathway of transitioning him from a PAYG to into our high performance contractor model. So he essentially sits with the contractors with the boys. But what we do is we get the benefit of having him for a period, let's say 2 years, when he's going through his mentorship, to training him the way that we want to train him, having him come in under the Virtus process, and at the end of it we've now got ourselves a high performing contractor, and then we can recycle. I've actually, if this works, I have another ex high performing police officer, an elite police officer that I worked with for years, that's looking at, we're in early conversations. And so if this model works with him, where he starts in, becomes a high performer under the PAYG, and we transition him out to the contractor, we will roll it into the next recruit, and essentially creating this. I think Smart Move do this very well. They do, like, what do they call it? It's not a broker academy, but they've got this program where they transition them through, right? So instead of trying to go out and trying to recruit all these high performance contractors, how about I just go ahead and build them?
Sure. And so that's the question I'm trying to get to, and you're giving me some good answers, but it's not necessarily getting to the heart of what I'm attempting to understand. And the reason I'm asking this question is because in order for you to create the opportunity for him to succeed, apart from his own intent and and focus, I think it's important that you're clear on what you're going to do to set him up for success. And what you're saying at the moment is, well, we'll nurture him for a couple of years and then we'll transition him across when he's ready to rock and roll as a contractor. Well, that's a couple of years. What do you, again, going back to the question, what are you
Yeah.
going to do differently that will help create the environment and the opportunity for him to succeed in the first few months that might have been different to what you experienced with the previous person?
Really good question. I feel like I had it right last time. I just had the wrong person. So what we had is we don't have this office where we're all segregated off. He's going to sit 5 feet from me and he's going to be eavesdropping on every conversation that I have. On He's going to be listening to my interactions with BDMs. He's going to be watching my strategy calls. He probably, when I'm recording this podcast, he'll be sitting there listening, right? So he's got the benefit of being around it.
Yep.
We have our systems and processes and our support team that he gets to lean on. So he doesn't have to worry about going ahead and building this. He can just worry about concentrating on becoming as proficient as he can. So these are all the things that we had originally, but I just feel like we had the wrong person. So, but you've made a really good point. I probably need to go away and think about with the so like removing the last time we did this, it was just the wrong person, and hopefully we've got the right person now. But surely there's got to be some learnings from what I did last time where I can be better. I haven't really thought about it, if I'm being completely honest.
Sure. So let's just give it a crack right now. Is there anything that you feel you would not do or stop doing as relates to or as compared to last time? So that you wouldn't do this time, that will increase the chances of him having a better experience.
I come in two minds about this because obviously this particular person went after referral partners. Like I flew them around the state coming to meetings with my referral partners. So they had like, I was building this relationship because I trusted this person,
Yep.
right? So I'm in two minds. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this actually, because I actually don't know the answer to this. Like, do I change my process and do I lock down my clients and lock down my referral partners and don't give him any access to this? Because there is a real risk that he would just turn around and go, you know what, I can do this for myself. I'll just take Trav's referral partners, all these clients that I've essentially written deals for that were Virtus generated. I'll just rewrite them and Trav can carry the clawback like what happened last time, right? So do I do I shut myself off and protect myself at the detriment of him? Or do I go, you know what? That was one situation. I got the recruitment wrong. I should have seen the writing on the wall that this person wasn't trustworthy. Do I need to start day one trusting him, or do I need to start day one protecting myself?
You tell me. What do you think you would rather do in terms of the way you want to run the business?
I think the right answer is to probably trust him. Is to probably trust him. And if this happens, it happens, right? Like I can't. As soon as I start shut, like obviously my IP, like all my systems and processes, we lock that down. I've spent over $1 million building this out, right? They're not going to get access to that. But the whole point is to transition him into a high performing broker, right? So he needs to get inside my head. He needs to be in part of these relationships. He needs to see me doing my thing. So if I'm like, oh, I won't show him this because I don't want him knowing I don't want him having a direct contact with my referral partners or whatever the case may be. I'm essentially hamstringing him. I'm handcuffing him before he even gets started.
I find this is interesting. I'm not sure that I've ever expended any energy whatsoever, and I literally mean this, on the potential of the people who do coaching within my business to essentially take the IP and run with it and do their own thing. Like I have no concerns or qualms about that whatsoever because I trust them implicitly. And so it's interesting that even your comment about, well, they won't get access to the IP because of this reason or that reason. Again, I wonder if you're going into this with a protection mechanism as opposed to an expansive mechanism. And I don't know the answer. I'm just trying to observe and notice where there might be some constraints in your ability to help provide him the opportunity to progress the way you would want and the way I'm sure he would also
Mhm.
want.
I might clarify that a little bit. So when you look at what we've built inside a broker engine and what we've built alongside broker engine and everything, our brokers, even my contract brokers, they don't care. They just go, look, Trav, I know it works. I don't care how it works. I know that it works.
For sure.
They
Yep.
don't want to see under the bonnet and see what's going on, right?
Yep.
And the reality is, I don't want them seeing it because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for me to keep building and improving this for them.
Yep. They just want to see the sizzle, not the
Yeah,
sausage.
exactly, right. And if I was allowed them open access, there's always that risk for them to go, you know what? I'm just gonna copy this entire systems and process. Trav spent 5,000 hours building it out. I'm just going to replicate it over here, and I'll cut I'll cut that split out that I'm sharing with him now. So that to me, I'm really comfortable not showing that, and they don't want, they're happy with that, right? So, but yeah, like you said, that expansive, that's the one thing that I'm like, no one will ever see my IP. That's my IP. I built it. I own it. But as far as referral partnerships, as far as the strategies and the way that we do things and being client facing, my plan is to be expansive with him and just open the doors. He can ask as many questions as he wants. The whole point of this is to turn him into the best possible broker.
Yep, very cool. So you've talked a little bit about what you potentially won't do. Is there anything that you would either do more of, or start doing, or do more of as relates to, again? I mean, you've talked a bit about, he'll be right beside you. He'll have effectively unfettered access to you and observations and interactions, all of which is arguably the best learning that he'll ever avail himself of, and certainly far better than any theoretical learning. Is there anything beyond that that you feel you'll do or start doing this time around that perhaps didn't happen last time?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be, this is probably going to be a little bit controversial, but I think I'm probably going to be a little bit more confronting with him. I feel like the last time around, again, I had a long-term relationship with this particular person, but I felt like I had to put the little kid gloves on around them and coddle them a little bit because they're a bit sensitive. And the reality was we're getting to a point where we're having meetings and I'm like, what's going with this deal? What's going on? Like the deal's just sitting there on her desk that nothing was happening. Oh, I don't know what. I'm like, make a decision, get it moving, right? Where when we made this offer to this new broker, I said, this is, and he knows me, right? And he comes from a very high testosterone sport, and that's just the personality he's like. So I
Yep.
said, the way that I would like to manage you is grab you by the scruff of the neck, go nose to nose, and go, let's effing get after it together, and let's have some honest conversations, and let's make this happen. Like, let's not, like, we're here to make money, we're here to succeed. I'm not gonna sit there and pat you on the bum and tell you you're doing such a great job. And he doesn't want that, which is great, right? Don't get me wrong, I have people in my business that we need to manage like that, especially my operations team that run out of the Philippines. I can't talk to them like that, where
Sure.
he would be very receptive to this, where him and I can just do that. What's different because it's because of his background in motorsport, right? But that footy shed mentality.
Yeah, I get it. And I think there's something to be said for understanding your staff and being able to communicate with them in the style that gets the most out of them.
Yep,
A
definitely.
little, a little bit more dynamic and flexible in terms of understanding the individual. So you've already had that conversation and he's okay with that?
Yeah, he was really like as I said, I know him quite well, and I know that that's how he would. He's very matter of fact about the way he goes about things, and I knew that'd be well received with him. But I just explained, I wanted to make it up front. So this is the way that I plan to manage you and to progress you, and it's around having tough conversations.
Yep.
And he provided some examples of because before he had his coach, he's always been in the motorcycle industry, and where he was having some tough conversations with one of his previous employer around performance reviews. And I think one of the key takeaways he got after the third or fourth performance review, he's like the owner of the business turned around and said, "Look, when you come in for your performance review, we know we're giving you a pay rise because he's just questioning them and showing them where he's bringing value in, and like that they might come into the meeting going, well, these KPIs, he's not meeting these KPIs, and he's challenging them on this, going, no, you've fudged the numbers and this isn't accurate." And they're going back and giving him a pay raise off the back of it. So I just got to this point where every time we got a performance review, they would just because he was happy to have that tough conversation with them, and that's what I'm really looking for from him is him being able to have that tough conversation with me and tell me where my shortcomings are as a mentor and as a business owner. Because he's gonna come in with a whole range of skill sets that he's had from running his own company and being an elite athlete. And he's going to come in and he's going to be like, Trav, I've been in this industry for 5 minutes, but I don't, why are you doing things like this? It doesn't, when I was coaching like the best supercross riders in the country, this is what we're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. And he can actually help me be better as a business owner and as a mentor, I think.
Maybe, and it's certainly encouraging that you create the space and the opportunity to have some fairly direct or open conversations without pretenses and not necessarily being subject to, well, my title is this and therefore it means this.
Mm.
And I think it creates for a healthier work environment so that you can also get on with doing things rather than sort of trying to tiptoe around each other as well.
Yeah, there's been some studies around with some of the bigger corporates where the most successful corporates that like their board meetings that they get quite aggressive is because people are passionate about what they're doing here. And I find that he's going to be really passionate, as am I. And there are probably going to be times when we're going to butt heads, but neither of us are going to go off and cry in the corner. We'll have a difference of opinion and we'll work through it and we'll just move on with our day. Like that's the relationship I've always had with him. And I'm hoping that it flows through into the business.
Nice. Tempted to say something about Ward's also having a little bit of ego in there as well,
Mm.
but that's probably a separate conversation. So, within you, is there any other growth that you feel you need to bring to this relationship in order to be the leader that your team needs and that you want to be to serve and support them as best as possible?
Yeah, I think I have that undeniable proof around my ability as a broker. I think I've proven it through my settlement volumes and what I've been able to accomplish in my career. What I haven't been able to do yet, and this might just be where my career is currently positioned, I don't think I have that undeniable proof that I am a great leader, that I am a great business owner. It's one of these things, right? So I'll talk to a lot of brokers around just so I can put a nail in the wall doesn't mean I can build a house. Being a broker and a business owner are two different things. I think that I've proven within myself that I can be a very proficient and elite broker. I haven't been able to do that yet as a business. So that's one of the things I don't know what I don't know. I think I've just got to, like I said, the rubber's just got to hit the road. I've just got to get in and get and do it and just keep reflecting on my own performance and try and be better in that respect.
Sure.
And maybe get
And
some.
arguably, it's a lifelong thing, right? And so I would think if you talk to certain people, they will say you never technically arrive. Yeah, there's always iterations. It's a bit like a Patek Philippe watch, which
Mm,
probably a poor analogy here, but they say you never really own a Patek Philippe watch. You're simply caretaking it for the next generation. You're a
mm.
custodian of this thing for a period of time, and before it's handed forward. And I tend to think a leadership can be a little bit like that as well. Is you're a custodian of certain brands, of certain attributes or values or standards that you're upholding because you know that they will influence a certain level of behavior and decisions and actions, which produce certain results, which are good internally and good externally. So, and plenty of sports metaphors around that in terms of team captains being custodians of the team brand and the team culture, and in turn influencing the behaviour of their peers. So, in relation to you and the growth that you're looking to create within yourself, what's a somewhat of a measure of success, not necessarily over the next few weeks or months even, but perhaps 12 months from now, that you would say, if I do this or if this, then it's a sign of my personal growth and therefore probably a positive impact on our team or our environment.
Tough
Something you
one.
can sort of see within a period of time down the road. It's not so far down the road that it becomes, something you can't touch, but you can almost reach out to it. There's a bit of a stretch there.
I guess with our new recruit, so this is sort of hinging on his ability and his motivations, right? But again, I feel like I'm hoping I've got the recruitment right here. But I would like to think he's got quite a vast network. Like, so we're going to lean on that network to generate his own volume, right? So I would like to, as his mentor and as the business owner, is be able to. There is a transition period where he's transitioning out of his old industry into the new industry. He's not sort of finishing up on Friday, starting on Monday with us. And there's a strategy around he needs to stay in that industry in some capacity because that's where his network lies.
Yep.
And it's like whether he's still coaching or whether he's helping out on a race team or he needs to be at those race weekends because he's such a big personality in the industry that purely people are going to write business with him because he's so well liked and respected, even though he doesn't have the runs on the board as a broker. So
Sure.
I guess talking about where I want to stretch myself to, I would like to see him. I would like to think in 12 months' time that he would be settling the equivalent of $30 million a year. I don't expect him to settle 30 million if he starts like we will start him in the next couple of weeks. I don't expect him to settle 30 million this year. But what I would like to think is in 12 months' time that he would be working relatively. I think he's going to be a quick study. I think even though he's still in his mentor period, I would like to think that when we start year one, when we're transitioning into year two, looking at his metrics, it's very evident that he's going to settle $30 million over that year and he's going to work relatively. Obviously, I'm still there to supervise and continue to build with him, but not not holding
Okay,
his hand.
interesting. Um, I was anticipating you might have said something different, and I wasn't sure where you'd go with it. Let me just see and check in with you here in relation to the proficiency and self-reliance of your offshore team. It sounded to me, from what you said earlier, that you can't take a piss without someone needing to, have things watched over. And so, is there any part of you, from a leadership point of view, that wants to create an environment that would allow your team members to be a little bit more capable without needing continual governance or guidance from you? Which, if I'm reading between the lines, sounds like what's going on right now.
I probably wasn't clear on that. My team performed very, very well. They just work with autonomy. They're doing great work. I'm a victim of my own creation here. It's when I talk about it's literally phone doesn't stop ringing with new leads or discovery calls or strategy meetings or I mean like my power brokers aren't expected to be able to if we get a deal that goes sideways and there's some MIRs and like every business owner I know will step in that respect.
Sure.
So I don't I've spent a lot of time training my team and I'm really really happy with that level of proficiency at the moment.
Yep.
Where it's probably around me getting out of my own way. I feel like I'm getting in my own way here a little bit. I feel like I'm like I've created this business that's so reliant on me. And now how do I now is it my ego? It's definitely ego, like because when you run a business like this and you're on the tools, it's extremely profitable business, right? As soon as you start trying to scale it and get off the tools.
Yep.
I know businesses where they've got like one broker and six staff that their EBIT's significantly higher than businesses with 30 staff.
Mm-hmm.
How do I maintain that? How do I maintain that healthy EBIT but grow the business? I want that profitable model, but I don't want to be taking 60 phone calls a day either. It's sort of can I have one without the other?
I don't know too many that have both in the short term. So, to use a quote from someone I know and respect very highly, was that growth is capital intensive. And if it's not capital intensive, then it's labor intensive, insofar as if it's not money you're injecting into growing the team, then it's time. And quite frankly, it's typically both. And so you can avoid more of the capital piece if you go down the contractor route. Uh, uh, I think it's important to, and this is why I was asking the questions earlier around what does success look like further down the road for you, because my experience is generally that you need a lot more contractors performing in a certain business model in order to create the economies of scale around performance and growth in book and your take on the percentage of the upfronts that you're receiving uh, to put yourself in a position where you can choose to then discontinue writing loans or write less loans. And there's no rule that says, if it's this volume, then you can step off. But we could look at businesses that we know and think they could probably step off any time, and the business would still be profitable and rewarding. And in some cases, might even be more profitable if they weren't writing loans because they could allocate their time into other income producing activities.
That's probably where I'd like to head to, right? But then I listened to a podcast recently with the founder of Gymshark. So I don't know if you know Gymshark. It's one of the biggest sporting clothing brands on the planet, right? So
And yet
billion
I'd
dollar,
never heard of it. Okay.
yeah, big in America and big in Europe. So it's called Gymshark, gymwear. So the founder of that business, so obviously this business just grew significantly quick, like just grew so fast, right? Like it just blew up. So what I really liked about his story is he turned around and said, you know what, like he ended up hiring a CEO. He was the founder, but he wasn't the CEO because he found a particular person that just went, you know what, this person's amazing. They're a better CEO than me.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did was like it just stands to reason that the founder's obviously going to be the CEO, right? I'm the one that built this. I'm the one that had this idea in my garage, and I've bootlaced it to where it is now. Of course, I'm going to be the CEO. He's like, no, this person is better than me. I'm going to put them in this position. That person remained in that position for I don't know, like 8 or 10 years or something. And then they've actually, when they've left, they've said to him, look, they want to go do different things. They said, now you're ready. You're ready to be the CEO. So now he's a so. do I need to get out of my own way? Do I need to just turn around, you know what? I'm very good at writing loans. I'm a very good broker. Do I bring someone into the business in a general manager role and allow them to grow the business because they're better at it than me? Or do I try and pass my skills that I've learned over the last 10 years as a broker onto my contractors, onto my PAYG guys? And then so that's sort of my passion project. I enjoy working with them. I enjoy building them up. And then the rest of my time, like I said, I've got that freedom to work on new builds. I work on, and stuff that's not client facing, right? So
Yep.
I can manage my time a little bit better. So I might spend, let's say, 10 hours a week working with my PAYG and my contractor guys. Give myself 20 hours a week to work on strategy and continuing to progress the business forward. And there's my 30 hours a week. But what happens if I'm not a good general manager or a good CEO, and whoever's replacing me on the tools is, we see a decrease in warm referral rates, which is what happened last time. We put someone on thinking they're under the brand, they're sitting beside me, they're going to be able to give the same level of service that I can give. All of a sudden, the warm referral rate dropped off, our settlement volume dropped. Even though we had more staff, our settlements went down because we just didn't have the right people on the bus.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a
In 2 months.
yeah.
My gut feel is you'd make a good to highly effective leader of your business. I think what shortcomings you may have in terms of your skills and capabilities right now, I think would likely be overcome through your passion and your commitment and your intent to want to see others do well. And I think that's another word to say all of that is empathy, and having an empathetic and caring and proactive approach to supporting your team members, I think is one of the highest attributes and qualities that a leader can bring to any business. When Nathan talked about this the other day, is creating an environment where he wants his team members to feel safe and cared for. And I think my gut feel is you'd probably bring some of those natural or those qualities innately to what you do, and then being able to refine or enhance other parts of what you also do. And I could also see you working quite well in a BDMing capacity as well, in due course. Which, I mean, it's already self-evident that the business generates a pretty good flow of leads, and if you have more time to do more of it, I suspect you'd generate more of them.
Yeah, but I would say probably the majority of my leads, I could say 70% of our lead flow is warm referrals, right? So if I'm not on the phone with the clients, how do we if I need my, especially my PAYG guys, to have the same warm referral rate to me, or otherwise I need to backfill it, like you said, as a BDM role. I need to go out and start finding some of these start building more of these referral partnerships where the majority of my volume, it's very like, as much as we have all the fancy tech and all these amazing things, right? The core of why our business is so good is because we were able to get a great outcome for the client, and they refer their friends and family, and that's it's as simple as that. There's no fancy marketing strategy, to be honest. We've been really unsuccessful with marketing. I'm yet to crack marketing, and I don't know if I ever will. So yeah,
Well, there's marketing and there's business development, not
yeah,
necessarily the same thing.
yep.
But in any case, I get what you're saying. In terms of the short term, say next 3 to 5 years, it's probably more of a medium term thing, really. Is are you prepared to take less profit for the betterment of bringing on the right people and supporting the longer term growth objective and the transition that you're considering or wanting to make?
Yes and no. So look, we had a pretty good year. I personally, as a broker, had a good year last year. Probably on track to have a far better year this year with settlements. Right, like what since if the last 3 months are any indication on what our financial year is going to look like. I know we're only sort of 2 months in, but two
Yep,
months is probably not enough time to sort of annualize out yet
sure.
what our settlement's going to look like for the year. So let's go
Yep.
back 3 months. It's looking really, really positive, right? So 12 months time, we already have a really healthy trail, right? But in 12 months time, it's a completely different story. And so it's like, do we take that? Do I just take on this new PAYG broker, just keep head down, bum up, have him beside me? There's that benefit of him watching me 60 phone calls a day and watching how hard I work and watching me on the tools while he's learning, right? And then in 12 months time, I've got another 150 grand a trail sitting on my book, right? That now I can lean on. I can go out and maybe recruit two new people, right? So yeah, you're right. Like, I can lean on that, but what I don't want to do is, I'll be honest, like, I lead a pretty affluent lifestyle, right? I'm not ready to go into a big hole and get rid of my cars and stop my holidays and motorbikes and whatever else purely to grow the business. I'm not going to like I've been through that period where I've had to bootlace the business. Now maybe I'm a
Do
little
you
bit.
have any significant debt that's lingering that is outside of things you might purchase, like your car? Is there anything that is a significant, like a massive tax debt or something that is outstanding, or a loan that you have been paying off for a long time, other than a home loan?
No, no. Virtus carries no
Now,
debt.
I can't imagine for a moment that you could spend most of the money you earn. Despite your affluent lifestyle, and my estimation of how much you actually earn is you would have to work and try really bloody hard to spend that much money. So surely you must be banking a fair bit of it, despite what you do in terms of an affluent lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. Like
So,
definitely, but
so hang on.
we
So, as that's the case, you already earn well in excess of what you need to live and enjoy an affluent lifestyle.
yeah.
You have more income that's required to enjoy and do that. So I'm going to repeat it, which means that even if you didn't necessarily uh, uh, have access to those accrued funds, you could potentially do something constructive and productive with them in order to support the longer term growth objective. And what you're saying to me is you're in this quagmire of, well, I don't want to compromise on my quality of life. Well, it sounds to me like you won't necessarily do that because you've got surplus funds there anyway. Your EBIT, it sounds to me like it's partly driven by ego more so than a practical sense of what you need to do in order to support the medium to longer term growth objectives, because you can't have both.
Mm.
You can't create growth in EBIT without having some level of resourcing to support you longer term. So I think you need to essentially make a decision, not necessarily on this call, but to ultimately arrive at a level of comfort around what's sustainable or economic for the outcome you want to achieve. Because you're not going to get one without the other. You're not going to be able to get your freedom and financial rewards long term if you don't have the resourcing in house to support you and maintain that level of performance.
Yeah, I guess obviously we've got some strategies in place to diversify. So that disposable income, let's call it, right? Like we've got that like we've we're forecasting that out to be allocated to diversifying outside the finance industry. So if AI does, I don't think AI is going to take our jobs, but let's say the industry was to collapse and get taken over by the robots, I've got other revenue streams coming in that I can lean on, right? Like I'm not Virtus is what puts food on the table at the moment. Everything is relying on Virtus. I would like to get myself in a position where if Virtus was to disappear tomorrow, it's not gonna materially impact my life too much. So yes, I do have that disposable income that yeah, you're right. I could keep tipping
Hang
it
on,
back in.
just say that again. If Virtus was to disappear tomorrow, this wouldn't materially impact my life.
I'm saying it would now. I'm saying the goal is for it not to.
I beg your pardon. Okay.
Yeah.
And does that
So
mean that you're investing some of these surplus funds into some of these other areas to create further revenue streams?
not at the moment, but we will.
Right.
Yes, we got every intention to, and that we're in the process of doing that at the moment.
So does that also mean that those surplus funds may not be made available to invest back into the business?
That's where I need to find that happy medium, right? Like I see some businesses that just keep tipping in, looking to build enterprise value, right? And then I see other businesses at the polar opposite where they're just pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. Like they're just the EBIT so high, and and these are the businesses that are diversifying. They've got ecom businesses, they've got property developments, they've got a lot of other myriad of different things happening, right?
Yep.
Neither of them's wrong. Well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go down either road. Like, is there a middle ground that I can find where I can invest back in the business at a certain level, which isn't eroding the EBIT too much, which is allowing me to diversify my income streams, but still allowing me to grow the business. The business might not grow at the rate that I would like it to.
Well, that's the point. That very last comment is the point. It won't grow at the rate. It certainly won't grow at the rates for others because you're not bringing them on at that speed. And so there's no right or wrong around that. That's
Mm.
really just a compromise that you need to make within yourself is what are you prepared to do? Because I can tell you right now, I've got a client who was through the cash flow crunch for 18 months, probably a couple of years even, where EBIT was very uninspiring, but he's effectively been off the tools for all of this year, and his team is writing virtually all of the loans. He's brought in a tiny bit here and there, and he's doing what you and I might refer to as consulting back to his own business. And he has set up a diversified business, and he is pursuing other objectives, and he's also looking at other ways to optimize his financial position. Uh, but he's certainly in a fortuitous position insofar as there's no need for him to effectively be writing any loans apart from the fingers on the odd file. So does that make his situation better or worse? Not necessarily. It's just a reflection of the reality that he was tight on the cash flow. And frankly, I don't know too many businesses that weren't if they've gone through a reasonably rapid growth period.
I went through a period where my offshore team were earning more money than me. So I've been there.
Yeah, right. Wow. Um, I suspect that won't be happening again anytime soon.
You would like to think it wouldn't happen
Yeah.
again. Let's hope not.
Okay, so for the purposes of our conversation today, and winding back to where we started this, you were considering the possibility of contractor versus salaried. Where do you feel you're at in terms of a bit more clarity as to where you think you're going to be pursuing or going moving forward?
I'm definitely more open to the PAYG model than I have been previously. It's funny how I'd like to back myself is that I'm very quick to reset my beliefs. And I've had so many people talk about the PAYG model to me over the last 18 months, and I've been so close-minded. It's probably something that I've needed to get slapped around the head a few times to snap myself out of it. So I'm probably more
Yep.
open to that. But in saying that, I really like my contractor guys. Like they're great. They're good performers. They're good people. I genuinely like. I'm not making a huge amount of money on them, but like you said, that economy of scale. Like if I was to get 15 brokers, 15 contractors, like at the moment, those boys are sort of just helping keep the lights on. Let's like to for want of a better word. But I feel like, and again, like I'm not ready to like I'm not going to do the whole dog and pony show to every event around Australia and trying to push this high performance contractor model onto every broker that I speak to, right? At the moment, it's just sort of growing organically. People are hearing about us, people are reaching out to us. Hey, I want to hear about what you're doing, right? So it's not growing at any great pace. We've gone in 2 years, we've onboarded 3 brokers. So it's not growing that fast. But I'm okay with that. So I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is there anything wrong with me pursuing both?
No. Uh, I think the challenge is not to do with either of the business models. It's to do with you and your willingness or lack thereof to invest further into the growth of the business. And quite frankly, the speed and means by which you do that is almost certainly going to influence the level of performance that you achieve, and the point in time where you will start to experience more of the so-called freedom that you're after.
Yep.
And
So
there's no
it's
right or wrong around that either, because it's whatever you choose to make that.
So just so I just want to get this right in my head. So the way that you're explaining it to me, because I feel like I've got it now. So you're essentially outlining to me, yes, Trav, you went and bootlace the business and you invested in the business and you've seen some success off the back of that. But now you're in this position where you become so comfortable that you're even so healthy and you're pulling money out of the business and pulling, and you're not probably investing to the level that you once were. Well, it's all relative, right? The business is bigger, so it requires a bigger investment. But
Yep.
when I don't know, pick a number, right? Like 20% of revenue, it's 20% of my revenue 5 years ago is different to 20% of my revenue today, right? Gross
Sure.
rev, right? But let's
Yep.
say that number, that 20% number, saying essentially what you're saying is, Trav, if the number's 20, 5 years ago, you're investing 20% of your gross revenue and growing the business and the business was growing faster.
Yep.
Now you're at the point where you're like, oh, I'll pull that back and I'll keep it at 10. And the business is not growing at the pace because I'm trying to pull, like I'm worried
Well,
about EBIT,
you
right?
have surplus funds, right? And
Yeah.
so, it looks good from a bank account point of view. It looks great, and maybe very encouraging.
Mm.
But if you're not going to do anything with those funds other than let them sit in the bank account, then again, it won't provide the opportunity to resource the business up to create the growth and economies of scale that you're after.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And so you can't achieve that outcome around the freedom piece until such time as you have that resourcing in and around you. Again, based on your definition of freedom, which was the 20 to 30 hours per week piece earlier, because everyone's definition is different. But of course, you could resource up from a back end point of view and write more volumes yourself, and therefore you'll make more money. That will categorically happen. And we know people that will do that and do that well because that's their thing and they want to do that. And so there's no
Mm.
right or wrong around it. I think it's just facing the reality that until such time as you do one of those two things in a more proactive, overt fashion, i.e., recruitment of contractors and/or salaried staff members, is then the business is going to continue to be heavily reliant on you, and and being okay with that reality.
You're right. I feel like I get in my own way here. I feel like recruitment with recruitment in my I spent 15 years in the police, right? Never to recruit anybody. You wouldn't know the first thing about recruitment, right? And so I've been learning as I'm going, and I feel like I've got it wrong just as much as I've got it right. So I wouldn't. Everyone talks about how hard recruitment is, but I know where my strengths and weaknesses lie. And if I'm being completely honest, I feel like recruitment's probably one of my weaknesses. I don't know if this is a limiting belief, and I just need to just like it's so hard because I'm so emotional. I'm so passionate about the brand that when I go for an interview, it's almost I feel like it's like a Tinder date. It's like you like walks on the beach. I like walks on the beach. You like going to the movies. I like going to the movies. Wow, we like the same shit. We're perfect fit. And I'm like, everyone says they like to work hard and everyone says they like work culture. Everyone, I'm like, no, like I need to ask these tougher questions. And we're getting better at that over time. But I still don't. And to be honest, I speak to some businesses. I've had dinner with some people at corporate level where their staffing levels are 500 and they're having the same problems as me. And I'm like, oh my God, you've probably hired 30 times more people than me and you still can't get it right. Like where's this pathway for me to get to become a proficient and elite recruiter, let's call it.
Well, I'm not sure because I don't have that belief that recruiting's hard. So I think that's contingent upon the individual, and maybe the moment you change your thinking around that might influence a different result. I saw someone the other day in the industry who has recruited several hundred people in their entire work experience, and said that until essentially the last time she'd interviewed someone, she'd never ever, or never really provided them the opportunity to shine in the interview. And it sounded to me like it was more of the, the interrogation style of interview. Again, that's by choice. Uh, I don't, again, see, I don't have issues with this, so this isn't my thing. I'm completely comfortable with the idea of recruiting and having good conversations and being clear on the qualities and behaviors I'm after, and then being able to ask the questions that sit around that. So there's easy ways to improve your recruiting skills. I'm not sure if the recruitment's the issue, though. I think that's the symptom, and I think the underlying problem is still around the confidence and wherefore to want to pursue this overtly, and then the moment you choose to make that commitment to yourself, is I think that you'll find ways to improve some of these attributes around what you are saying are the problems at the moment.
Yeah, it's that old adage where focus goes, energy flows. I guess I'm not hasn't been a focus of mine for the last sort of probably 12 to 18 months. So I haven't been putting any energy into it. Now it's one of these things that where it's probably just through a need as opposed to a want, where we have that much lead flow and we have that much going on that I'm just I don't have time to go. There are things in the business that I need to go build that I don't have the time to do at the moment. So that's why we're having these conversations with these new recruits. So it was not I've sort of been forced into starting to make some moves. But you're right. Like I need to reset my beliefs and go away and be clear on what the next step forward is.
And it could be as simple as even often when I would approach someone with this or ask them what could be a new, in fact, let me just do it with you. What could be a potentially different belief? Not necessarily 180 degrees and saying, well, I'm a gun recruiter and, I'm going to go out and work for, but what's a different belief you could embrace that that you feel could create the possibility of being more effective in your capacity to bring the right people on board?
Or a different belief. I guess I need to stop and go, you know what? I have made some mistakes and I own those mistakes and I've learned from them and I've paid for them, probably way more than what I would like to, right? And just where before when I'd make mistakes, I'd sort of pivot and move and go, you know what? I have this affirmation. If it doesn't matter in 5 minutes, if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it shouldn't matter in 5 minutes. And this recruitment thing is one of those things, right? Yes, it's expensive if you get it wrong, but the business is at a level where if I get a recruitment wrong, it's not going to bankrupt the business. So maybe I just need to give myself just a little bit of space and just go, you know what? Give myself the opportunity to take some shots and make some mistakes. As long as I'm getting it right more than I'm getting it wrong, the business director is heading in the right direction. Is that
It probably is. Yeah, I think you could also look at something like I trust myself enough to make good decisions here and create the opportunity for people to succeed. You could also say something like that. I trust my gut, and my gut instinct is never going to be misaligned, or will always be aligned to telling me the truth. Which, by the way, I say that last one because I know there's other brokers out there where their gut instinct is almost always, or in fact, it has been correct. They've essentially trusted their head, not their gut, and because they wanted someone to work when it didn't work, and virtually every single time when their head was saying we want it to work, but their gut was telling them it won't work, it never ended up working.
I think this is
So,
probably, you make a really good point there. I probably don't trust myself in that respect. I probably don't trust, like, when you talk about head and gut, like I fight with that a lot, and I'm probably I'm, I know what I'm good at, and I know that this is something that I need to continue to work on. So I don't think I've got the undeniable proof yet that I'm great at it. So I guess it's a confidence thing. My confidence is probably a little bit dinted from a few punches around the face that I've copped over the last 5 years, I guess.
uh, all of which has been a good, fruitful education and getting you to the point of where you now are to help make some different decisions that will set you and the other business up for the next stage of growth and performance.
It's a really good point. No, I like it.
Alrighty. So, on the basis of what we've covered off, I think we've done hopefully, for you, a good job in terms of having more clarity and options around pathways to move forward, understanding, recognizing that the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the investment you create for the business will influence the speed of growth and the output. It's not the only thing that will influence speed of growth. You still need to be an effective leader. You still need to set people up for success, and there's a fine balance because more people quickly sometimes can create overwhelm too, and that's important to recognise that you pace that out as well, so that you give each person the appropriate level of time and guidance they need. And so I think if you took that mindset of looking at this as a multi-year project, which it fundamentally will be, then I think that you can sort of step into it one person at a time, and then essentially rinse and repeat a version of that action without necessarily compromising greatly on EBIT in the short term, if that's the approach you want to take, and still be able to achieve the medium to longer term outcome of good quality of performance internally, as well as being able to migrate some of your work across to others as well.
No, I think it makes sense to really help me get clarity. I'll probably circle back on this in a couple of days with you and I'll have some follow-up questions, I think. But no, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this for me.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, one thing I didn't or we didn't cover off, and I would often do this with other clients, is ask them to map it out on a forecasting tool. And so, if you haven't done that, it's probably worth you doing, just so you can literally put the numbers in and have an estimation around what you anticipate to be a combination of broker performance, comms that they're going to earn, revenue that you'll earn out of them, growth of trail book, and so on and so forth, operating expenses, just to give you some sense of performance over a period of time. And so, in the case of the tool we have, it's a 3-year forecasting tool. You can put into it contractor performance, salary performance, your own performance, so you can have a look at all of the above,
Yeah.
and also look at asset value for the business, etc. So that might be something to do, and if you want, I can give you that tool, and then perhaps we can have a conversation around that next time.
That would be amazing. Yeah, I'd love to. That would really, really help me get right because I'm a broker, right? Numbers. So getting the numbers right in front of my face is going to help me make some strategic decisions and what levers I need to pull on.
Sweet. Okay. Well, there you go. We've just got our next podcast. For the benefit of everyone who has stuck this out to the end, we thank you for taking the time to listen to this. We hope that's helped you in terms of just understanding a bit more about the decision-making process, not necessarily to lean into salary brokers if that's not your thing, but also take a moment, Trav, to acknowledge you again for you being willing and able to be vulnerable and share essentially how things are and how you want them to be, because in doing that for yourself, I think you also create the space and the opportunity for others to consider how they might want to refine or enhance or change what they're doing to experience a level of performance within their business and the quality of life that they're also after. So I think that's really brave and courageous of you to do that for all concerned. So I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. I hope our players get some value out of it, and maybe there's somebody listening in today that's actually done what I've done. And feel free to reach out and have a chat to me. I'll buy you lunch, and you can roadmap it for me. Yeah, I'd love that.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thanks, guys.